I'm glad you're back to In the Arena podcast. We interview people and business owners in St. Tammany Parish that are using the tools that we teach to grow their business. And in this episode with Kyle Kent, he uses behavioral assessments not only in the past to get where he's at, but now he's using them to get where he's going to go. And if you want to learn how you can grow your business similar like Kyle has in St. Tammany Parish, tune into this episode.
The credit belongs to the man who is in the arena. Dare greatly and build intentionally. Welcome to In the Arena podcast. Welcome to In the Arena podcast. We got Jonah, Lauren, and a good friend of ours is joining us today, Kyle Kent. Thanks for coming, buddy.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're excited. We've been talking this year about behavioral assessments, or this month about behavioral assessments. We've had Kyle from Keller Williams on, Kyle Evans, and we talked a lot about leadership related to assessments. We had Craig Sweeney on. He uses the Working Genius a lot. And today we're going to get more into the DISC, but there's other assessments that you used in the past, so I'm excited to dive into that and how you've grown your construction company and all the other companies under your construction company or affiliated with your construction company based on these assessments. So just a little background. How long have you been in the construction business for?
35 years.
And I'm sure you've had one or two employees kind of come and go.
Just a few.
Throughout that time. Yeah. And I can say, you know, being in this community and getting to know some people that are in residential construction, out commercial construction, like you're kind of like the Nick Saban of the of the group. Where I think a lot of people.
Yeah.
I mean, I think people appreciate the fact that you come from the Kyle Kent background. They've learned from you, and they have a lot of good things to say about their experience they had with you, and they're all doing
like a great
things.
track record, or LSU hates you. Which one are we going with?
I don't know if LSU. He's the LSU guy.
Hopefully, it's no hate there.
Right?
No, I think a lot of the guys
all good people.
Yeah, all good people. All said really great things about their time with you, and I think it was I forget who said it. I want to say Mitt Romney. I'm not completely making that up, but he was like one of the proudest parts of me growing a business was taking people in, coaching them up, and then seeing them all go on to be successful. And I think that says a lot about
that is, and it's hard to replace good people.
Yeah.
But you kind of see certain people that just have that knack that you just wonder how long are they going to be there.
Yeah.
And leaders love it, though, right? I'm sure there's an element of you that just loves watching their success and their growth. Like, that's the impact that you want to have.
If there was an opportunity to help any of them, I would.
Absolutely.
Well, and we talk about it too, right? And I think people miss this in business, that there's so much more opportunity for growth when you're collaborative in your approach to business and the people that you're in the community with, as opposed to always feeling like you got to be competitive.
Right.
And business is way more enjoyable when you do that too.
Yes, yeah.
You're not always looking over your shoulder.
Yeah. And look, and it forces you to get better.
Yeah.
And that's
level
part
up.
of some of the things with the leadership development, things of that nature. I mean, we still have not figured it out.
Yeah.
But it's like every time you lose someone, it's like, all right, now you have to step your game up. You have to figure out how do you improve, how do you grow other people within the business to replace them.
Yeah. We said that on the podcast the other day.
Yeah.
It's like,
but I feel like even if you're trying, you're probably doing a lot more than like 80% of businesses, even if you're just trying to be a better leader. Not even like applying a lot, just trying. Yeah. You're probably doing a lot more than 80.
And I think, again, when we're talking about behavioral assessments, I think that it's in order for you to have that type of perspective, you have to have enough self-awareness about your tendencies and put either systems or people around you that are going to help you take to the next level, right? And I think that there's something about the way that business owners who are able to do that, they tick. You're always looking for ways to improve, and it's almost a sickness or people can see it as you a little bit of crazy, where you're just constantly self-evaluating, and even other people who might be looking from the outside saying, y'all are killing it, y'all are doing great, like we've come so far, but there's still that element of, what are we missing?
Yeah, some people don't see the internal chaos that businesses deal with and fight with.
Yeah,
and I love to learn from other people. So like other businesses, there's businesses around here and in New Orleans that I collaborate with, and then I'm in peer groups because I don't feel like you can ever get enough.
No.
I think what we all do for a living's easy. It's the people part that makes it the most difficult.
Yeah. More people, more problems. It's a real thing. They say more money, but the more people, more problems is real.
Yes.
I mean, I saw something recently that said, knowledge can be obtained through books and intelligence, and that's what somebody can have, but wisdom is through those experiences. And that's what I really love the peer groups for, and really seeking out for people that I'm impressed with the growth and the struggles that they've dealt with, so that I can get a little piece of that wisdom, right? That's the beauty behind it. I'm drawn to people that I know have had a struggle, whether it was a personal thing or whether it was business related, because they came out on the other side. there's a story behind it and there's a lesson to be learned.
Yeah.
And that's what those peer groups, you know, when you level up and you collaborate with people, it rising tide raises all ships, right?
Yeah.
It's that concept that you have to dive into, and maybe that's the level of crazy, you know, that entrepreneurs get that have them, you know, capable of moving through and going to the next level.
Yeah. We've been in the same peer group, a couple different peer groups, and just like in passing or and at the same time in a couple of them. But it's funny how when people try to go visit those groups, they don't really understand it, and the people that really don't understand it are the ones that may not have that level of humility or haven't really figured out that improvement aspect of business and always constantly trying to look. Because the first thing they always ask me if they want about joining the group is like, "Oh, think I can get some business out of that group?" And it's like, you will probably get a couple of deals out of it, but the more value you're going to get out of it is the relationships and the networking and the knowledge you're going to get out of those groups. So you might spend years before you find that one nugget or that one relationship that's helpful, but you just know that putting yourself in a room of people that you share common values with, that have gone places that you respect, you just do it. I mean, it's hard to explain why. Yeah. You don't really know why until after it happens, but you just do it. And the one, you know, Phil Nico's group that you were a part of and still affiliated with a little bit that I go to still, like those, it takes years to like look back and say, okay, the ROI from the group is accumulated over this amount of time. And some years you get more, some years you get less, but the group of guys that are in there, you just learn so much from them that's real. That's where the real value is. Yeah,
that's what it's about, in my opinion, because when you look back I look back over 30 years of being in business. This past April, we made 30 years.
Congrats.
Thank you. And there's just so many things, like as the business grows, the dynamics change so much. Yep. And a friend of mine last week told me you've heard the difference between like the pirate ship and the Navy? Mm-mm. So you need I had looked it up because he explained it, but when you're a pirate ship, it's a startup. You know, you can, you know, it's all hands on deck. Mm-hmm. It's everybody's, you know, working. You can make a change. It's like, all right, we're going to go this way, and boom, you go that way. But the Navy, it's a very structured organization. Mm-hmm. So that's probably the most difficult thing for me is I'm a pirate. Mm-hmm. You know, I love the pirate. I love that mentality. I love, like, you know, finding the kill and doing it and developing the relationships. But, you know, I think as the business grows, you have to have systems and processes in place. Yeah. And
but
then
if you find that blend, though,
that's what I haven't
through people.
I know, and that's where I struggle.
Through people, it really is, and having them understand, like,
can be a Navy.
Don't lose that
ship.
sense. We actually had this conversation last week. I was like, y'all, we're 32 people deep. This does not need to be bureaucratic. The systems are there. It goes out of system because it's going to go out of system. Just get it back in as soon as possible, but keep moving forward. Yeah. Never lose the common sense approach to how quickly can we solve somebody's problem.
Right.
Right? Within the system itself.
Right.
But finding those right people and doing that, you know, through these behavioral assessments and people that want to grow, I think is that key. But man, that's so true, right? When you're younger, when you're smaller, you move quick.
Oh, you're so nimble. And then as you get bigger, it's just like, God, we're not as nimble as we used to be.
You're the second person who said that. I was actually in Alabama in a sweat tent on a retreat with a bunch of guys. And somebody was a founder of an organization.
Sounds strange, but I was going to ask you to explain, but I don't know if we have time for that, Jared.
We were all fully clothed, really, really sweaty. And we were having a conversation about the same thing, right? Yeah. You have to, and I think you do it in two ways, right? With people, and you also do it with processes, right? And he literally said, we were talking about our role within our organization. Like, we're killers, and we have to give ourselves the ability to go out and go find that new business. But in order to do that, you got to have people that you can help you leverage, but also the processes for the responsibility that you have that lets you compartmentalize those tasks and give yourself the space to be creative and go find that work within your time, right? And as you grow, the more of those things you got to time block and systematize are more, and frustrating because all I want to do is go out and go get new business. But you got to be able to do that training and manage people and all that leadership stuff that we feel is slow.
Which I don't like that part.
I mean, look,
and I'm not good at that part.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We had literally had this conversation for the last 48 hours, me and Lauren, about us two. And you know, I would bet that you're probably not terrible at it. Like, I feel like I'm not very good at it either. But just spending the time doing that just is slower than the other stuff.
Yeah, it needs to be done. Yeah, and I need to do more of it.
Yeah.
But it's difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is.
So let's get into the personality assessments and behavioral assessments, because it plays right into that, right? And so, we use the DISC, and if anybody listening doesn't know what a behavioral assessment is, it's just a way of assessing somebody's natural tendencies to react to a certain situation, right? Whether it's your personal life, which is the way you interact with people and your obligations and commitments you have as an individual, or how you're going to perform in a work environment with a little more structure and responsibility and commitment to that work. And so people have a natural way of reacting, and we do our best to understand, based on our organizational chart, what type of behavioral assessment would do well in each role. And then when we interview somebody, we're asking them to send us their DISC assessment, and that's not the end-all, be-all of whether we're going to hire somebody for that position, but we'll know how to potentially help them within that boundaries of that role if their DISC assessment doesn't marry directly with the task that they're doing. And so we use that as a hiring tool as well. And then we use it as an ongoing leadership tool, which is where I'm still trying to figure that out and learn, because that's again, it's like you have this commitment to your job and to us, just go do it. And then, but everybody can do things in a lot of different ways, whether it's generating business or even just down to the admin, the way they greet people that walk in the door or anything like that. So, that's how we've kind of used the behavioral assessments in the past and how we use it now. We have a lot of other ways we've done it. So, I mean, you might be able to speak to this maybe after you've hired somebody and how you use it. But we take different aspects of the assessment, and every week at our meeting, we assign one or two people to go over the values of the organization or ways they communicate or an aspect of their assessment.
Okay. Just
so that we can have conversation and dialogue around it, and then people are constantly reevaluating and self-assessing their assessments and how they perform and how they act. And look, it's a growing experience for all of us, because we all get in those meetings and we're still kind of like, how do you brag on yourself in a way, or really self-assess whether you're actually bringing that value to the organization? And when we talk about it, sometimes we don't really nail it exactly like we should when we're saying, like, my value is doing this. Well, instead of maybe just everybody patting you on the back, it's like, well, why don't we all be honest about when you do and don't show up in that way? What triggers you to prevent you from getting there? And we've been doing that this quarter, and it's helped a lot. Like, John did a great job talking about, John's creativity and his empathy and relationship with the employees. Whenever he's able to do that, you just feel the energy in the building, in the room feels better, because John's in his, what do we call it?
Just like he's warm honey when he's in that flow.
He's vibing.
You know,
What do we call John?
Best John.
Yeah.
Best John.
That's when he's best John.
Yeah.
Best John.
Because I was like, how do you bring your best self to the organization every day, right? And sometimes when you're good at a lot of things, or you become the Swiss Army knife of the company that everybody values because they know that you can bring in, or you're the greatest team player because you can jump in at any point, that's a good skill, but you might lose sight of what your true value to the organization is. And so there's so many types of DISC assessments. I love the Abelson DISC for a lot of reasons, but it does give you little snippets and categories of why you can be a challenge to the organization and why you can be a value to the organization. And I think that self-assessment, to Jared's point of, am I showing up as the best version of myself to the organization, or am I letting things get in the way of that? And those other things can be people. It could be missing systems. It could be distractions and their energy leaking because they're having trouble at home. It could be a lot of things.
Right.
But am I showing up? So we were saying that, and John's like, me, best John.
Yeah.
And so that became his thing. And, we even brought it to the next step, because I think you can identify it from yourself. Then your team can identify it, but most people view addressing that as conflict. So how do you make it easy for them to do that? So we came up with that as the buzz phrase. So anytime you feel that John is not showing up as the best leader that he can be, you could just walk in his office and be like, I need best John.
Yeah.
And then everybody knows what that means.
It's like a good trigger word.
Yeah.
It is, because he's so good at listening and helping somebody work through their problem. But if he's distracted and in the zone, if he's in the zone on a litigation matter or, a big commercial file matter that he has, it's going to be hard to get his attention. So, hey, best John.
But I think
I
part
need
of it
you.
too is whenever and we talked about this, and I think this is important to say, that all of your strengths and your negative tendencies, if you looked at them and you did the inverse of those things, there usually is, if from a negative standpoint, the positive aspect of when you
Direct
apply that in the
correlation.
right way, how you actually grow. And then the same thing from the positive, if you apply it in the wrong way, it can show up as negative. And so, like, as we did this exercise yesterday, like, we reevaluated our accountability chart, not to change it a whole bunch, but just to look
3 of 9.
Yeah.
Took us 7 hours for 3 of 9.
Okay.
Just to look at that and say, okay, like, are we all, is this the structure of our organization that we need in order to get where we need to
Right.
in the next 18 months, is what we did yesterday. But then once you built out the actual chart and started writing out the rules for those things again and saying, okay, well, like this task is going to take us X amount of time in a day, right? Assuming you're going to work a 50-hour work week, right? And so you can kind of see maybe who are sitting in seats where they have just too much to do and how those two roles can conflict each other from a behavioral assessment and what you have to be focusing on, or being aware enough of like this role takes extreme focus and this role takes a lot of leadership and empathy and ability to, be a little bit more dynamic with people. So you got to be able to play both. And so like we're going to see how it ends up, because I think it was eye-opening from that perspective of what are all the roles we have to do, what all the seats are we still sitting in as a young company. I mean, at 30 years in, you probably have a little bit clearer boundaries around people's responsibilities. But if you do sit in more than one seat, like how do those two seats contradict each other in the way that you have to operate every day?
The funny thing is, if you look at the disc, because the first time I took the disc was 2013. So I took it again 4 years ago. It's different.
Oh, I'm sure.
It changes. Mm-hmm. So as your role within a company changes and what you do every day, it changes. Now, I'm still a high I, but my second highest in 2013 was a C, because I was still actively doing a lot within the business. Well, now my secondary is a D.
No more estimating.
True. Things that I shouldn't be doing. Yeah. So I'm not in a happy place when I'm doing those things. Yeah. So I wouldn't be my best Kyle. But no, but the other thing I like about it is it's some self-awareness. Like, in lieu of looking at it and going, well, that's just how I am, you need to kind of understand that, okay, I see that, and I see what the stress side of that looks like and how I am perceived or how I really am in those situations. Mm-hmm. And I think when you can start to understand that and then start to understand that about people, that helps start the conversation.
Yeah.
What is the biggest thing you learned about yourself? Because I think that's what people discount with awareness. They'll read it and be like, all these bad things aren't that true, but all these good things, they're so true. But like, what was that one revealing thing that you may have known, but it allowed you to be a better leader or a better business owner?
I think when I first took it, I was still actively working in the business, and it was like this aha moment about I can see some of those traits in me, and the ones that were low, yes, I hate doing those things, or I'm not that way. But I guess more than anything is I'm a relational type person. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I like being around people. I'm very good at ideas. I'm very good at arranging, but I'm terrible at like seeing it to the end.
Mm. Yeah. What the kids do, they clock it. That's, yeah.
Yes, sir. And when I'm in it to the end, it just gets messy, and it's probably that's when I frustrate people the most, because I'm in way too deep.
Yeah.
So it was probably recognizing the things that I have a bailout period that I need to get out so that it's best for everyone.
Yeah. Where's the handoff? Somebody take this baton.
Yeah. And I used to always say, push a rope. You can't push a rope. And it was like, I say that because you really can't push a rope. Mm-hmm. I can take it so far, but I need someone else to kind of take it off me at that point.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to just necessarily hand it off and say, you do it. So I think the best thing for me is when somebody recognizes that we're headed down a path, we're headed down a good direction. I need to offload that from him, because the longer I keep it, it's not going to get good.
Well, I think and that's when the process is coming to play, right? Like, you got to have the right people, but similar to you, I love getting something in the door, and I love the product producing the standard that I expect, but like, I'm not the guy who wants to do all the tasks every single day, right? Like, Lauren talks to us all the time. I want to know that my standard's met, and I almost to a fault. I want to make sure it's done the right way, but I also don't want to be the one that does it every day. So I want to be the one that creates the process and then walks away and knows the process is being done.
And moves on to the next thing.
For sure. Yeah. But I think that from knowing that about myself, I want to go fast. I'm a high D, high I. And at the beginning of business, when we were a pirate ship, before we actually commissioned people who are going to be in the Navy, I'm moving fast. And it's good, grit and moving fast and getting as much in the door as you can when you get a new business. It's kind of almost required in order to get the momentum going. And once you get to a certain point, you've got to slow down a little bit and allow for the process to kind of catch up and get to where it's sustainable to keeping up with the movement that you're making, because you can outpace yourself sometimes. But putting those processes in place allows you or me in our situation go fast but then go back and check and inspect
Yeah.
what you expect. And
You have to
that's
have
the biggest
trust.
thing.
You have to
Yeah,
have
and
trust.
I think that's where I look back at what was probably the biggest, I'm not going to say failure, but when you have a small company and you grow it and you're all working within a small team, you realize it's just natural. Everybody picks up on what you're supposed to do, what you're doing. And as that team grows, if you haven't written out that process and made it a process for someone to follow, it's very difficult. And I think we got too far down the road with our growth that just like people would come in and it's either you throw them to the wolves and they learn it and they shadow somebody and they figure it out. But we never really put those on paper. And we have over probably the last 7 to 8 years, but you're constantly refining them.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
things
it's a living
change and you
document.
tweak, and it's just and it changes as people change, as your business changes,
Or new
as-
problems arise. You're like, oh,
Right.
that's a new thing that happened.
Right.
That's crazy.
And from my seat now, you see an issue, and for me not to go down into the weeds in it, it's realizing that it's a coaching moment for someone. It's not a systemic problem throughout the organization. It's just getting this person up to speed, getting them into the processes.
Yeah, I had I have a person that has taught me the idea of the task condition standard metric too, which is good for me to think about it in that way because I want to get my hands on it and fix it myself, and then put the process in place and walk away. And I'm still refining the idea of like giving somebody the task that they need to accomplish, the standard they have to meet, and then the conditions that they have to work within, and saying, I'm not going to do this for you. You're going to build the process, and as long as the standard is met, which is what I expect, and the task is accomplished, how you create that process is up to you. And some people that works well with, depending on the behavioral assessment, right? Like a lot of our staff are system-oriented people, like to follow a system, they're high S's, but they don't like to create the system.
Yeah.
And so, knowing that about ourselves and knowing about our team, we're doing a lot of the heavy lifting of building that process for them so that they can then operate with it. They refine it, right? They bring the issues up within the system and you can improve it. But like creating the initial system is like, you'll talk about the problem. And we have to be the ones that create the system. And we're learning that about ourselves and trying to help build tools around SOPs so they can build those things out themselves. But it's still been a learning process and part of the culture, right?
Yeah.
Like if your culture is not one that does that and talks about issues and creates SOPs, you have to start that, initiate that. And sometimes, like you said a couple of times, and we've said this before, the habits and the systems you have that got you where you're at are not going to be the ones that get you where you want to be. You have to constantly get better. And sometimes that means bringing on new people that are more in line with where you're at with the organization at that point in time.
Yeah.
Which is hard for...
And that creates issues too, because you have people who've been with the company for quite some time, and then you're bringing in new people either in a leadership position, and it's a struggle. And part of that's probably how you communicate that coming in.
Yeah.
It's how you communicate.
And I don't think, I know I haven't done that well in the past, communicating that. But with the systems and the processes, I think the tweaking that I like to do today is how do we simplify them? Because once you're in it and everybody's rolling, then you can start to see that, all right, we can scale this back. And with tools and technologies today, I mean,
It's
you
incredible.
can simplify.
It's
You
incredible.
can. If you have a
lot
good
of
operating
things.
system, you'll trigger things. And, I am a system person and I love them, but I am not dumb to the fact that you have to have boundaries on it. If you find yourself just over systematizing everything and placing new rules, you don't have the right people.
Right.
You can point out a lot of different, I'll use the banking world, right? You bring in a lot of people, they're really good. Most of them are relationship builders and salespeople, but don't necessarily have the banking experience when they get started, right? So they give them scripts.
Yeah.
Because they're not prepared for them to go out and handle the conversations and be compliant, right? I don't want to build an organization like that. We don't intend to have 1 million employees, right? And so when you're that organization and you want to protect your culture, you will know when you have the wrong people because you're creating rules to control them.
Yes.
And sometimes, in hindsight, if it's not the person, it's you as a leader, right? Because one of, again, favorite things about this particular disc is it gives you their question, like their trigger point. So you talked about handing somebody a standard and walking away. Well, if it's not an agreed upon standard, it's not that they don't want to meet the standard, but they're going to consistently fail to meet it. And so you have to self-audit as a leader, like, am I answering their question? Like, are they a how question? How are we getting there? You're bringing in this new leader. Why? How are they going to be implemented? Rather than this is just what we're doing. And as drivers, all of us have that high D above the line. We're just like, this is what we're doing. And we're ready to move as soon as we decide what the what is.
Yeah.
But you have everybody else in your organization that is asking who's involved, how are we getting there, and why are we doing it? And so if you're not prepared to deliver that information in that way or deliver the standard in that way, you're going to find yourself not trusting the people that you're giving it to.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the hardest transition points that I see with a lot of the businesses that we work with, and even with us internally, right? Because it's like, yes, you need to be working on your business. Yes, your people need to level up and your systems need to level up, but so the frick do you.
Yeah.
In all these ways. And that's that hard part. And I don't necessarily looking at it as slowing down. You're like, you got to like scale back to move forward. I just look at it as like, I'm going to change the way I operate and how I deliver something so that we can continue to move faster, right? Don't wait for them to have to come back and ask the question. I'm going to be ready to answer it.
Yeah, and I think it's getting that message throughout the organization. As we've grown, it's so much more difficult because, and you do things that you don't realize you're doing that frustrates people.
Yep.
You know, because if you're meeting with a senior leadership team, for example, then you walk out of that meeting, probably everybody has an opinion of, okay, they're going to go tell this person. That cascading message just does not happen automatically.
That's part of the working genius model. If you follow it, like they have these galvanizers that within like the 6 wheels and gears, if all the 6 gears are there, the machine moves more efficiently. If you take one of them out, it's less efficient. And one of them is the galvanizer, and that person is the one who goes out and takes the plan and the mission and gets the team on board with it. And like we don't have a ton of galvanizers in our organization, so we're not as partners.
I'm the only one out of the 4 of us that has that as a genius.
Yeah.
And so
We have a lot of discernment, so everybody knows what they want to do.
Yeah.
everybody's contemplating ideas, everybody's creating ideas, and then we have a couple of people who are really good, like that want to see the project through to the end, which is important. But to kind of bridge the gap between your employees and the vision is the part of it, and the changes and the growth is the part of it that that's hard. And we'll have people all the time that will say things like, we're a small boutique title company. Shout out to Lauren Cray. She's always telling us that, we're supposed to be a small boutique title company. But we are a small business.
If you know what big business is, we're real tiny, girl.
But again, we obviously need to we're trying to do a better job of explaining what that means and what we're doing and our purpose and why we exist. And the fact that we are still doing what we've set out to do with our own spin and flair on doing it at the standard that we expect, right? And so all those things are conversations we're constantly having, but people, different behavioral assessments just take to those things way differently.
Yeah.
For sure. And I think the coolest part that over the last couple of years, and we've talked about this too, is that if you take the accountability chart and or the organizational chart, whatever you want to call it, and you know which roles are within your organization and what behavioral assessments fit, and you have had somebody leave and then somebody come in and fill the role, obviously there's people involved in business, but really what the machine of your business needs in order to grow and what behavioral assessments fit and which role and what everybody needs to be doing. And so if somebody does leave, you don't have to be afraid of that. And you don't have to be upset about it. It doesn't have to be an emotional thing. It's emotional because there's people involved, and people are leaving, and you don't, obviously you build relationships with them. But when they do go and you find somebody else that replaces them, that can be better because they're more in line with it.
That's literally what happened to us.
Yeah.
Literally,
the culture. If you hire the right culture, you can usually teach what you're doing. And that's probably the biggest challenges that we've had as a company is having the wrong person.
Yeah.
You got
For
the
too
right.
long. For whatever reason.
Yeah.
We all, and most high eyes are going to want to see people get better, and you want to be optimistic about the growth that they're going to have, and you want them to be a part of the team and to see the light. And then sometimes it's just that they are at a different phase in their life, and that's not right for them. We try to force a square peg in a round hole, and then once they leave, you're sad about it, and then 2 weeks later you're like, well, that should have happened.
Yeah.
A long, long time ago.
Yeah.
And usually relieved.
And it forces you to get better.
For sure.
I mean, because you're compensating for something. And it also gives other people an opportunity to step up. So you may have somebody who's sitting there in a position that maybe is overlooked, maybe not, but just now they have an opportunity and they shine.
Yeah.
And
we've had people come to us that said, like, I'm interested in working for your organization, and we're like, today we don't have a role for you in this spot, but we have a role in this spot that might not exactly what you're looking for. But if you take this opportunity, your behavioral assessment will work well here.
Yeah.
And as soon as something opens up that's more aligned with what you want, then we'll get you in there. And it's funny how you bring them in, and then there's an opportunity that shows up. Right.
Well, it's funny because this goes back 20-something years. So I have someone that's been with me, just excellent, great at what she does, kind of knows everything about the whole company, and responded to an ad that we ran for receptionist. And that's not what she wanted to do or what she was had been doing. Mm-hmm. But it was an opportunity for her to get into that position. Mm-hmm. And now that person's in finance, our controller, and does a great job in that role. But it was just hiring somebody, taking the initiative to respond to something that just to kind of get in the door.
Yeah.
So
I've literally had the same thing happen to us. They applied for one role, we interviewed them, we're like,
no.
we're gonna put you here instead. And just by taking that step, it made a big deal.
And I don't know, I guess one of the other things that I've done that's probably not good, but when you have somebody that you like and you have good people, you will move them around till you find the right fit for them. You know, and we've had that happen with some people who have just really ended up in a role that has been fantastic.
For sure.
And when you have something like the DISC to help you through that process, it's not just a gut reaction.
Right.
Like, I do believe in gut reaction, right? And I follow it often, but I follow it to say I need to go pull data. And so this is what actually puts people on paper, because being a data person, and it helps support, your decision. So gut reaction, this is a really good person, aligned with our values. Why are they so stressed out? Like, let's evaluate this. Oh, let's match what you do every day with what your behavioral style. Yeah, we set you up for failure.
Yeah.
Let's put you in a better role, and that's leadership.
Yeah.
To me, that's being a visionary in and of itself, to be able to do that for people when you're set out as a business owner to truly have impact, right? It's not only about your balance sheet.
Yeah.
So if you're truly trying to have that impact, you can do that for people using this tool.
Yeah.
And I think you can get distracted. As businesses grow, I mean, there are so many distractions, and you get away from those things. So, even just sitting here thinking as we're talking through that, we need to do more of that today.
Yes.
We need to pull those discs back out, shake the dust off some of them and say, all right, there's an issue here and we missed it. Yeah. Because you just don't pay attention to those things, and you get complacent about certain things and certain people and take them for granted.
And that's one of my frustrations with like the traditional, coaching platforms that just your org chart, but they're not. Once you have people in them and you're auditing them, doing an assessment of people being in the right seats. Like, you truly should be doing that often, and you should be using whatever behavioral assessment as a tool often. We use it every single week. And then the last few quarters, we have a different theme of a different portion of the behavioral assessment that we use to focus on. That's what Jared was talking about when he was saying the value of the organization. And if something gets to my level that there's a dispute between two people and it got all the way up there, they already know my question.
Yeah.
Have you looked at your disc and theirs? 9 times out of 10, it's just the two different communication styles. Let's get between it. And I don't even need to meet with them. And they resolve it themselves, and they realize they're just responding with their triggers because someone's communicating them in the style that they don't want to receive about a hard topic.
Yeah.
That's literally all it ever is. So we have, and I do this when I work with other businesses, you get a DISC profile for your company, which has their name, where they fall, their top 3 ways they want to be communicated with, top 3 ways they don't, and their top strong motivators. Because that's another leadership tool that every DISC assessment doesn't give, but like knowing what your employee is motivated by, right? Like if Jonah is down because of something that happened in his personal life and he's like raising his hand, like, give me some help. I need to get back into the zone. Help me out. Like, we can go and pull his motivators.
Yeah.
And everybody thinks it's money motivations, but it's not for everybody. Sometimes it's social and they just want to go to lunch. Just want to have a dinner. They just want to have a party at your house for a holiday. And like those things can transform a culture just because you understand what makes them tick.
That's very good. That's good advice. I'll take back.
Yeah.
Look at those.
The communication part too. There was a real estate agent who had a team that he took that page of the communication areas and their profile and he taped it on everybody's door.
Yeah.
So before you walked in the room, you knew how the person liked to be communicated with, and just gave you another way of awareness of before you walked into a situation. To think about how you're going to approach this conversation before you have it, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah. That is cool.
Don't ask Lauren about the weather. Just tell her what you're thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I always used to tell people, like, I love when people walk in my office and want to talk about what they did Saturday night. I'm like, why are you in here?
Yeah.
If they want to come in here and say, hey, I got this problem you want to solve, I will cancel everything on my calendar. It's like, let's sit down and chat. But sometimes those people that want to just talk about having Saturday just need that relationship part. So you got to like take a step back, and but also create the boundary around the fact that you got to get some work done. All right, we got 5 minutes left, and I want to touch on two different things. The first thing is we talk about business owners that want to scale having three main issues, right? Their operating system, which this DISC assessment is part of how they operate their business, their mindset, and then their legal structure of their business. And so mindset is something that we go into, and it's just generally your mindset around work, because business is hard, right? Being an entrepreneur is ups and downs all the time. And part of that is the health and fitness aspect of you being a professional, being the best version of yourself so you can show up, right? You're wearing a Whoop. We've talked about this before.
Yep.
And I know, Jonah, you've lost, 7 pounds?
7 pounds in like 4 weeks, something like that. Yeah.
All right. Thought you were looking good.
He got that mullet.
I thought it was the
going.
haircut.
I got the mullet. That really is narrowing the
Did
face.
you lose
a little
weight
bit.
after the haircut?
Yes, after the haircut. Yeah.
But so talk about like health. You're kind of going down a health journey right now.
Yeah, so 3 years this August will be kind of a different path and that I went down. And actually, I was with Phil and his group. We visited a place.
Brains place? Yeah.
Rim Wellness, and it was just different. You know, I did CrossFit for years, and I told myself I liked it when I did it, but always hurt.
And then you felt your back
way
every
too
morning.
competitive to be doing something
sure.
like that, and this is different.
Yeah.
But it's good movements, and then it's the sauna and the cold plunge after. It's just something that I've gotten addicted to.
Is it helpful? I mean, like from a professional standpoint or a personal standpoint, you show up better whenever you're doing those types of things?
Oh, look, I think the cold plunge has de-stressed my life.
For sure.
Yeah.
If
If you can get in that sucker in the morning, the rest of the day is a little bit
5
easier.
minutes every morning, 48 degrees. And let me tell you something, there's not much that route. I mean, I'll get, but not anything like I used to.
For sure. Yeah, I haven't done it in a while, and it's either that or doing jiu-jitsu, which I'm not. I don't do jiu-jitsu. My Dom Luke always he likes to put me in a pretzel and show me that.
I'm not that flexible.
Yeah.
It wouldn't take long to twist me up.
But like it does, like you can feel the energy release once you either get in that situation and you finally relax in that cold plunge, or whenever you're just that struggle and the feeling of that, it releases something inside of you that makes you feel better. But I mean, the health journey that I've been on and the way that the Whoop band has helped me and Track My Fitness has made huge change in my life since been about a year now. And if you're not focusing on your health as a business owner, you're going to have a harder time, and you're going to find yourself looking back 20 years into it and being like, how did I even get from there where I'm at now?
And I used to brag about not getting much sleep. Like I could go on 3.5 to 4.5 hours a day all the time, but I would crash. But having this thing really evaluate sleep and then kind of give you the data. I mean, sleep is so important. So I think I'm up to like 5 hours and 55 minutes.
Don't oversleep now.
I can't get to that 7 hour mark, which is what it recommends. I'm always in sleep debt, but I do get good recoveries.
Yeah.
Not all the time.
I'm a
could be built a little
3-dayer
bit
below
different.
6 hours, and then after 3 days, I got to get 7 hours.
Yeah.
Like I know my body. I won't be thinking clearly,
Yeah.
and like that's all we do all day is make quick decisions.
Right.
That's my job. That's
But
all
my
I-
efficiency, like I'm in the bed, it's lights out.
Oh,
Like,
me too. I
fall
can
asleep.
if I close
I'm
my
like
eyes right now for long enough, I'll be sleeping.
96% efficiency.
nice.
It's
It's a good 5 hours.
Yes.
And I think that when you really dial into the data part of your health, whatever type of wearable you're having, like the Garmin has got a good data on it. These Whoops.
Sleep's pretty good.
Yeah, and I think that in order for you to, I think for me personally, I have to have that type of data to remind myself of where I'm at. Some people get overwhelmed by the amount of data, but I like to know how many calories am I burning, how many hours am I sleeping, like just a reality check of because you can burn it hard if you don't pay attention to it.
Yeah.
And so it kind of keeps me in check to make sure that I'm not give myself a little bit of a break. And then
Correct.
if you do get into the gym and you're doing the CrossFit stuff and you're overtraining, you see how that affects your body too. And it, again, keeps you in that area where you're not you're doing enough to keep yourself healthy. You're not doing too much to where you're making yourself in a worse spot by doing it too. So I think it's important. Second thing, last question. This is the new question. I'm gonna ask. I guess anybody can answer this question, but somebody asked me the other day, like, who is one person in your life that you could say this person made a huge difference in where I'm at today, and just to give somebody a subtle little pat on the back to help just to say like it was this person who really helped me get to where I'm at. Is there anybody that sticks out in your life that you could say, like, this person made a big impact on me?
Well, I think, family's big for us. So my dad, he's 89. He's a veterinarian. He's probably the oldest practicing veterinarian in the
Still
state.
practicing?
Yeah,
That's
a
awesome.
couple of days a week. But just the way that he's given me so much advice over the years. Even helped me when I first started out. But probably wouldn't be where I'm at today because there were some challenges when you start a company. There were some times where he kind of put it on the line to help, and it worked out.
For sure.
But no, I think he's someone, and he's still active. Just went fishing with he and my middle son Toledo Ben.
That's awesome.
2 weeks ago and had a ball. So yeah, I would say that he's driven.
That's awesome. Like my wife asks me often, she's like, "Are you ever going to slow down?" I'm like, "Have you met my grandfather?
Yeah.
He's 88 years old, still goes to work every day.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of built in. My dad's the same way, and I get that. She talks about her dad a lot, how much he impacted her, and Jonah's business, Lettuce Media, is named after and legacy of his dad, and talk about how my dad, like your dad, led by example, and gave us opportunities that we would never have for them. So. Well, very cool. Thanks for coming on, Kyle. It was a great conversation, buddy.
Appreciate it.
It's a lot of fun.